Islam, the religion of submission to God. The word Islam is a noun formed from the infinitive of a verb meaning to accept, to submit, to commit oneself, and means submission or surrender. Literally, it means submission to Allah, meaning God or the deity, like the Hebrew El. A Muslim is one who submits to God or Islam. While Muhammad is the founder of the Islam religion, the followers of Islam, as a rule, do not refer to themselves as Mohammedans. Like Judaism and Christianity, Islam is monotheistic and traces its ancestry to Abraham through Hagar, the handmaid of Sarah, and Ishmael, her son, while Judaism and Christianity traces its religious heritage to Abraham through Sarah and Isaac. Islam is the second largest and one of the fastest growing of world religions. Its more than 1 billion followers can be found in some 56 countries and includes many peoples, races, languages, ethnic groups, tribes, and cultures. Only 20% of the world's Muslims are Arab. The majority of Muslims live in Asia and sub-Saharan Africa. The world's largest Muslim community, over 100 million, is in Indonesia. It is the second largest religion in Europe and America. The Muslim community, Ummah, is a transnational community of believers, God-ordained and guided to spread an Islamic order socially, politically, and religiously. The study of Islam today has most recently been motivated by the challenge and threat of political Islam or Islamic fundamentalism, especially after September 11, 2001, in the context of the war against global terrorism and in particular Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. It is now generally known, in contrast to a separation of church and state for many Muslims, religion and society, faith and power are closely intertwined. Historically, Islam has significantly formed and informed Muslim politics and civilizations. As we shall see, although specific and significant differences exist among Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, all three faiths share a profound monotheism, belief in one transcendent God who is creator, sustainer, and ruler of the universe. All believe in angels, Satan, prophets, revelation, moral accountability and responsibility, divine judgment, and eternal reward or punishment. Christian-Muslim relations are often seen through the stereotype of jihad, or holy war, extremism, or a militant Judeo-Christian tradition of crusades, Inquisition, European colonialism, and American neo-colonialism. Such perceptions lead both sides to foresee an impending clash of civilizations, of which the current events are a fulfillment. For this reason, the comparative study of Islam, Judaism, and Christianity is of great importance. The religion of pre-Islamic Arabia was a development out of the primitive Semitic desert faith where the majority of Arabs worshiped local gods and goddesses. Some of these deities were strictly tribal, but others presided over certain geographical areas and obliged all who entered their domains to reverence them. There was a widespread veneration of certain astral deities, identified with Babylonian, Greek, and Roman names. Lesser spirits were angels and various sorts of jinn or jinni, some friendly, fairy-like, some hostile and demonic. In addition, particularly among the Bedouin, but in every part of Arabia, animism existed. Pillar-like stones, rocks, caves, springs, and wells were held in great respect. Mecca offered the most conspicuous instance of veneration given to a stone, that given to a meteorite built into the corner of the Kaaba, one of the holiest shrines of Arabia. The term Kaaba, literally the cube, for it was a cube-like structure with no exterior ornament. To enhance its appearance, it was later covered with a tissue of black cloth. The meteor was worshipped as the black stone that fell from heaven in the days of Adam. The desert tribes of Arabia, year after year, came on a Hajj, or pilgrimage, to offer near it sacrifices of sheep and camels, and to run the circuit of the stone 7 times and kiss it, in the hope of heaven's blessing on them. In the course of years, the cube-shaped Kaaba was erected, and the holy stone placed in the southeast corner at a height that permitted it to be kissed by those who made the 7-fold circuit. The Kaaba was filled with idols of various kinds, representing many facets of animism. As Islam developed, influenced by the Hebrews, Muslims were taught that the Kaaba was built by Adam from a celestial prototype and was rebuilt by Abraham and Ishmael. The Quran attests that Muhammad grew up in poverty and shared the beliefs of primitive Arabian religions. The traditional date of Muhammad's birth is 571 AD. According to tradition, his father was of the Hashemite clan, but died before his birth, and his mother when he was 6 years old. He became a ward first of his grandfather, and then of his uncle Abu Talib. Little is known of his early childhood, but tradition indicates that he lived among nomad tents, that at the age of 12 he sent with his uncle to Syria, where he met a Christian monk named Bahariya. Muslims reject any implication that Muhammad was influenced by his environment or the teachings of others. He later found employment with a rich widow named Khadija, who put him in charge of her caravan. At the age of 25, he married Khadija, who was 15 years his senior. The adult Muhammad soon showed signs of a religious disposition. Muslims state that his religious system was not influenced by other religions, but do acknowledge that he did receive from others a foreknowledge, truths and moral laws made known through prophets such as Abraham, Moses, and Jesus. Muhammad revolted against the idolatrous polytheism and animism, the immorality at religious convocations, the drinking, gambling, and the burial alive of unwanted infant daughters practiced not only in Mecca but throughout Arabia. One can only conjecture how all of this was synthesized in the heart of Muhammad, but we do know that his teachings were the foundation of a revitalization movement. Muhammad seems to have entered a period of spiritual stress. His private thoughts were quickened by learning about Jewish and Christian concepts of one true God, final judgment and punishment upon idolatry and immorality. At the age of 40, according to Muslim tradition, he visited a cave near the base of Mount Hira, a few miles north of Mecca, for days at a time. Suddenly one night, the night in power of excellence, Muslims call it, there arose a vision before him, an angel, identified as Gabriel, telling him to recite passages that are included in the Surah 96 of the Quran. Excited, he told his wife, Khadija, who encouraged him to pursue what he had seen. Finally, after many months, Muhammad became convinced that he was a true prophet, a Nabi, the apostle, Rasul of Allah. And the verses he uttered were real revelations that would provide greater authority than the scriptures of the Jews and the Christians. The response to his message of one true God and a day of judgment found little response in Mecca. As opposition grew, Muhammad took a small band of followers to Medina. This withdrawal or flight is called hijrah by his followers. However, they often use the term immigration. That year, 622 AD, which marks the lowest point in the personal fortunes of Muhammad and also the beginnings of his remarkable success, has been adopted as the starting point of the Islamic calendar, in Latin, Anno Hijrae. In Medina, he set up the rule of Allah based on the pledge of Aqaba. We will not worship any but the one God. We will not steal, neither will we commit adultery, nor kill our children. We will not slander in any wise, nor will we disobey the prophet in anything that is right. He built a mosque for daily prayers and for the weekly congregation worship every Friday. He drilled his followers in devotions, religious education, and zealous aggressiveness. The Qibla, or facing in prayer, which formerly had been toward Jerusalem, he changed toward the Arabian center, Mecca. The fast, which formerly had been observed on the Jewish Day of Atonement, was changed to a new distinctly Muslim fast, covering the month of Ramadan or Ramza. His former policy of general friendliness toward the Jews was changed to persecution and killing. He was determined to abolish idolatry and to reduce Judaism and Christianity to a position of dependence. In the war with Mecca, 10,000 Meccans prepared for a grand assault on Medina, but Muhammad had a trench dug at vulnerable points around the town. The Battle of the Ditch that followed persuaded the Meccans that Muhammad was beyond defeating. In January 630, Muhammad marched on Mecca and the city capitulated. He was generous to his former fellow townsmen except for a few. One of his first acts was to go reverently to Kaaba, and after riding 7 times around the shrine, he ordered the destruction of the idols within it. By the time of his unexpected death in Medina, 632 A.D., he had established Islam, nominally at least, throughout the greater part of the Arabian Peninsula. Within the next 100 years, his followers had planted the sign of the crescent throughout the Middle East and across North Africa, and even in Spain and southern Europe. The Muslim army was finally turned back at the strategic Battle of Tours in southern France in the year AD 742 by Charles Martel, the grandfather of Charlemagne.